Guys, we all love Chris Claremont. It's almost impossible to talk about the X-Men without talking about Chris Claremont and the impact he had on them and everything he did to put them at the top of the Marvel food chain for so very long. I mean, it when you name an X-Men essential reading list, it's all essentially Claremont stuff. But that being said, what if I told you that there was a Claremont book that just was not good? That just is nonsensical and too convoluted, too busy, and is just all in all not good. That book would be Sovereign 7. So what Sovereign 7 is, a lot of people don't know about this book. Chris Claremont came to DC. This took place in 95. So he was not, I do not believe he was with the X-Men at this point. He had the tea, or for the rumors and everything, are that the breakup he had with Marvel over the X-Men is because management chose Jim Lee over Chris Claremont. Chris Claremont ends up leaving X-Men after issue number 3. This is the adjectiveless X-Men book, and I want to say it was issue number 3. And for everything that Chris Claremont did, for all his years upon being on that book, all they gave him was a blurb on the last page that says something to the effect of "Thanks for everything, Chris." That's it. No, not even a write-up on the last page. Not even a chance for him to say his goodbyes. Just, hasta la vista, Chris. Peace out. So Chris then comes to DC and he writes Sovereign 7. And he introduces all these characters here, which are all brand new creations. And him and Dwayne Turner, they create this book. And they are on this book for, not counting the annuals and the one-shots, 36 issues. And it is a batshit crazy book. I never hear anyone else talking about this book when they talk about Chris Claremont. Based on my recollection, I do not believe any of these characters have ever shown up again anywhere in the DC universe. I don't know if Chris has used them in, any sort of independent project or anything, but they have never shown up again, to my knowledge. If they have, it was a very, very minor cameo, a very small role, but this book here, it shows off a lot of Chris Claremont's quirks. I'm going to go ahead and open up a couple of these issues here. It starts off, this first page, "It was a dark and stormy night." Now that is an opening line that I don't know its exact origins, but I know that Charles Schultz and his Peanuts comic strips, when it shows Snoopy as an aspiring writer, Snoopy starts off a lot of stories with this. It was a dark and stormy night. So it's kind of like a noir mystery type headline that's used. But Chris Claremont uses it here to open up issue 1 of Sovereign 7. And right out the gate, all of the characters appear, and so basically through some sort of boom tube. One thing that happens with this book that I do not like, I binged all of it last weekend, and had a lot of it. I gotta say, you know, it's very confusing. It's a very busy book. Like I said, all of these characters here, these are brand new characters created specifically for this book. And so that's all fine and good. However, he does not give us, he being Chris Claremont, does not give us a chance to figure out and learn anything about these characters. You know, you've got all these characters here. Everything seems to be happening so fast that there's not a chance to learn anything about them. And that is kind of strange, because as you can see in these pages here, there's a whole lot of people talking. You know, and that's something that we know Chris Claremont loves to do. You know, I always joke that he gets paid by the word. He likes to write so much. But this book, you know, one of the things that I did not enjoy about it is you have so much happening with so many new characters and in such a new locale that it does not, and it almost seems overwhelming at points. You know, the characters, they land here in they land in this town that we find is called, like, I want to say this town is called Crossroads. That's the name of the town. And they show up, and if they're fighting some people, and we don't know who any of these people are. We don't know, you know, because they're all original characters, we don't know why these people are in town, why these people just appeared here. We don't know who they're running from, what they're running from, what their relationship is to each other. So this is where it says, "Welcome to Crossroads." And then we see this establishment here. This, like, a little, it says that it's like a little coffee house, hotel, small bistro type deal. We see two people here arguing. Bang, whimper. The Sovereigns show up, and it's just more confusion. Now, these characters, we recognize these characters right here from the Jack Kirby New Gods book. These were the female Furies from Apocalypse. So we see them fight. But my biggest problem with this book is, you know, he writes these characters. You know, one thing, like, he writes them like we know who they are. And with all these characters here, we're very unfamiliar with them. So we kind of need to get a lot of it spelled out for us. But we're just dropped right into the middle of it and forced to figure it out on our own. Now, that's fine in a book like X-Men, where we're all familiar with Cyclops, Wolverine, Rogue, and also the dialogue in there. There's a lot of dialogue that tell us about the characters' relationships to each other. There's dialogue in there that tells us Cyclops' powers, Wolverine's berserker rages, you know. But however, this book here, we're given none of that. So this is the aftermath of the last battle. And they're basically building or cleaning up the mess they made, fighting the female Furies. And that's fine, you know. Well, then we have this shot here. Crossroads chairs. Crossroads needs chairs. I believe we have a set of chairs in storage. So basically we have this guy right here, Reflex. He's been attacked by something upstairs. So now, between having to look for chairs downstairs and having to go upstairs, we've come to find out and learn that this house basically is like a TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside than the outside. It has floors and rooms that have dimensions to them that make them huge. You get lost in them. So that's, you know, this is issue 2. And you're giving us the fact that now this place called Crossroads is just some sort of, like, this is supposed to be the cellar. This is like a whole other planet. And like I said, we get dialogue and dialogue upon dialogue that does not really tell us anything about anybody. And Claremont, he does not stop. And then, look, here we have another new character. I am Nike. So we had Kratos, Nike, BI. We have the 7 characters that emerged from last issue. We have the supporting characters. Now we have new villains. Last issue had Apocalypse and the Furies, the Fatal Furies. Now we're back to this bad guy who was, or this supervillain who was in the last page of issue 1. So all of this is going on. And on top of all that, you have the people who run this establishment that we thought was just an ordinary bed and breakfast. But however, it has doors that lead to different planets and dimensions. So then you've got these 3 people here who are people who are at the hotel. You have this person who works at the hotel. You have the sisters here that own it. So all in all, I just thought it is an incredibly confusing book, and it does not get any easier. Now, I'm not someone who wants to be spoon-fed when they read, but however, I would like to know who each person is. I would like to know what their powers are. I would like to know, one of the biggest things about this book is these 7 characters, they arrive in this portal on Earth, and they talk about their planet, or now they're all from individual dimensions or planets or what have you, and each one of them has been destroyed by something. We never find out This book runs for, 30 something issues, 36 issues. We never find out exactly what it is that destroyed their planet. They give mention to it, saying that yes, our planet was destroyed by, they whatever the thing is, the reckoning or the revenant or whatever it was. But there's no mention. Is that a group of spaceships? Is that some sort of sentient cloud? What is it? But it destroyed all their planets, and and how they met, we don't know. I don't think we ever find out how they met, other than the fact that they just stumbled upon each person and they scooped each person up until they were rolling 7 deep. So, like I said, it's just too much going on. The cast is too big. It's just like I said, too much happening. And here's another thing: is this book does not feel like. It does feel like Chris Claremont, but it feels like Chris Claremont is trying to channel Peter David. And the way I say that is Peter David, he writes a lot of stuff that kind of feels like a TV show, like sitcom style dialogue, and how it's kind of, not like Bendis popcorn, where it's pow 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 pow, just zingers back and forth. But it feels really like, if you've watched any sitcoms from like the 80s or, the 90s or something like that, that's kind of how Peter David's dialogue has a feel. And it really feels like Chris Claremont is trying to do Peter David, but in Chris Claremont style. And it has some of his, Chris Claremont, it has some of his trademarks. A lot of the female characters in there who don't take shit off of anybody. It has a lot of, huge supporting cast, huge subplots. They're all over the place. Some of them are touched upon again. Some of them are never brought back again. But all in all, this is definitely a book that is at the bottom of Chris Claremont's, things he's known for. I will give him this. He swung for the fences with this. He went all in. Now, I don't know if this reads this way because the characters are all brand new and we don't have the familiarity with them that we do with the X-Men. So that's why it feels like there's so much going on, and it feels like it's overwhelming, as opposed to the X-Men, where we have a general idea of who they all are, just to our experience of knowing who the X-Men are. But I think it's kind of a big failure of his. I never see this book ever being brought up. So I don't know if maybe his success with X-Men is because he had a strong editor, and here with Sovereign 7, they were really hands off, and they were like, hey, just let Chris cook. And Chris cooking on his own was maybe a recipe for disaster. It says here, editor is Rob Simpson. I don't know who that is. It's not a name I'm familiar with. Of course, I'm not terribly familiar with a ton of editors outside, the Mike Carlins and Denny O'Neills, Chuck Dixons of the world. So, thumbing through a handful of other issues, I don't see, any names with editors that I recognize. But I will go ahead and wrap this up and tell you that the most absolute infuriating part of this book, it occurs in the last issue. So issue 36, we see Power Girls join the book at this point. That's a whole different kind of ball of wax. Victory. Finale. So they're doing whatever they were going to do, They fought whoever they were going to fight. So here we go. They make their last big battle statement. Everything's being wrapped up. And then this right here. This cannot be the way the story ends. You don't like happy landings? It was all a fucking story. It was all a comic book. These are the two sisters from Crossroads that were in the first issue. And come to find out, they're a writer-artist duo. She's writing the book, and she's drawing it. So that's how it wraps up. That's how it ends. It was never nothing but a story. It was never nothing but a story. 36 issues of this book, and the whole thing is just fan fiction. That two sisters were writing and drawing together. That's it. I mean, it's like some Newhart, Dallas, Bobby Ewing in a shower type shit, you know? And it just is. And then it's over. So you can't do that to your fans, you know? It just, you know, I will say this. It is definitely something I have never seen done in any other story. At least not by the big two. And maybe that's why these characters never appeared again, because the two sisters didn't get the book back off the ground. So it's definitely a head scratcher. I would love to know about a behind the scenes for what was going on during this period. But all in all, after reading all these issues, now I see why they are in dollar boxes nationwide. So I don't like to, in general, I don't like to talk bad about work that anyone does. Because anything that anyone's accomplished is way more than what I've done. And, you know, it took a lot of work to get these 36 issues out, you know, from everyone involved. Claremont, the artist, Ron Lim, Dwayne Turner. So everyone was trying. So I don't want to sit here and shit all over it. But it definitely is a lot of confusing moves that were made. And it left me scratching my head quite a bit. Now, there might be some people out there. I will say this. If you are someone who loves heavy characterization and a huge cast, then this would definitely be the book for you. And the other good thing I have to say about this is it's 36 issues in this book, and you probably can put it all together for $36. You're not going to find any of these books being, you know, highly overpriced or anything. They're all very affordable. So if you want to get a look into Chris Claremont's lesser known work, Sovereign 7 from DC is what you should check out. So I kind of enjoy doing these videos on lesser known stuff. So maybe I'll do another one on a writer that has lesser known works that didn't really fly off that well. So I might do that in the future. So until next time, this is Mike and Mike's Total Dragon Channel. You guys take care. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.